Aloha, everybody. Welcome back to the Wall Street Coach podcast. I'm very excited and honored to have Matt Marino here with me today. He is the founding principal as of 2012 for CenterPoint. And I've asked Matt to join us today because I want him to really help traders understand more about what CenterPoint has to offer them, but also for them to get an education and what they need to be aware of for their own trading. So thank you, Matt, for coming on my podcast.
Thank you, Kim. Pleasure to be here. Appreciate always spending time with you.
It's just a great conversation, just because I don't think there's enough of these conversations out there. And I would love if you're open to just beginning this conversation with what inspired you to be a co-founder of CenterPoint in the first place? What was the need that you saw? And why did you think you and your colleagues were the men to take it on?
Good question. I don't think it was so profound as that.
Yeah.
We obviously, there was 5 of us who founded CenterPoint. We were all in the industry. 2 of us in the Midwest. My oldest business partner, myself, have been together since '99.
Wow.
in this space. And then we teamed up with 3 gentlemen out in San Diego. We had mutual clients that brought us together, and we recognized a void in this space, and really the focus was at the time and became our calling card, if you will, and that is the shorting, is clients who wanted to short specifically low float stocks. Originally that was the ability to short low float stocks was reserved for institutional business. So on the retail side, it was very hard to come by. And we teamed up with some other partners as well outside of us 5 to grow that space in the retail area. And that became, what we were known for, almost too known for at times, because a lot of people, that's all they look to us for, and we do other things. But that was a void that we looked to fill. What we originally said is we wanted to bring institutional services to the retail client, and that's what we did.
What do you feel like traders that are listening to us now, should they know about what CenterPoint offers that will help them see it as unique? I have heard traders say they feel a lot of times brokers are a dime a dozen. I don't understand why that is always their focus. So what is it you say to traders, perhaps who are somewhat cynical and say that, or of that mindset? What is it that you say to them, and or how is CenterPoint operating that really does make it stand apart? I want to thank our sponsor, CenterPoint, for sponsoring the Wall Street Coach podcast. And if you're ready to experience 60 days commission-free and their exceptional customer service, then please use our link to check them out. Now back to our podcast.
At this stage of our business, being this far along, it's kind of the proof is in the pudding that we have had clients for well over 10 years that have been incredibly successful. Not all have stayed with us. We never claim to be the only option for people. Brokers, they're a dime a dozen in the sense that if you want to trade stocks, you have to use a broker. And there's a lot of options out there. And there's a lot more competition now, even in the short space that I described where we started. There's a lot more competition, and that's a healthy thing for any industry. But what we do fall back on is, and it's so cliche to say service, so I prefer to use the word relationships. We really try and always have tried and strive hard every day to treat big clients, little clients, everyone fair and equal. And the bigger a client becomes, the more services they require. And that's where the relationships grow stronger. I now have clients who I would consider friends that have been around a long time, and
Yeah.
it's been a fun ride watching us all grow
Yeah.
within this trading space, because it can be, uh, I mean, what are we all doing here? We're all making a living
Yeah.
in different ways,
Yep.
but to be able to create relationships along the way gives that some purpose
Yep.
and a different level of fulfillment.
For
So,
sure, for sure.
but
I
yeah,
I was lucky enough to, be at your Del Mar office and, uh, build relationships with your team, and the sincerity and the desire to meet their clients' needs, your clients' needs, it's impressive, and that's a big part, why CenterPoint now is a sponsor, because I wanted to be sure of who it was that would be sponsoring my podcast. And that was the most impactful thing. I could see the sincerity of your entire team to want to take really good care of the needs of the clients. And, so I'm glad that's what you are calling it as opposed to customer service, because it seems to me to capture it more powerfully.
yeah, no, and I appreciate you sharing that. We haven't grown so big that the culture hasn't remained strong,
Yeah.
and anyone who has joined our team learns quickly what makes us tick.
Yeah.
Some people haven't, there's been a few people who have come and gone
Mhm.
that didn't fit, but the ones who have been with us and usually stay do fit, and we all have that same fulfillment, so it's exciting.
Yeah.
I had someone else recently visit that office, and his feedback was he couldn't believe he was surprised to see everyone was excited to come to work,
Yeah.
because it's not just a job, but we all
Yeah.
stay creative and try and stay innovative and try
Yeah.
and offer new things to the clients, and it's a constant brainstorm, which keeps it fun,
Yep.
as a job, because it
Yeah.
is a job.
For sure. You know this, I do outrigger paddling, and, they talk about how when you have a crew, it's like everybody's in the same canoe. And that's the vibe that I get. Like your team is in the same canoe as those clients, as your clients. And that, is hard to not to feel a sense of somebody's looking out for you. And that I can't imagine doesn't help the traders that are under tremendous stress. So, speaking of stress, I can't imagine running a brokerage firm isn't stressful. And you're dealing with clients who are under tremendous stress. So, on those very stressful days, because I'm a coach, because I'm always curious about how people cope, what and how they deal with volatile emotions. What is it that you turn to, navigate the challenges or the stress that you yourself face and or, have faced over the years?
It can be an incredibly stressful environment.
Mm.
When we do bring, anyone who's on the CenterPoint team understands you have to have a mix of patience and urgency. You have to have the patience to understand the pressure a trader is under, consider depending on the situation, of course,
Mhm.
but you have to have the urgency to understand the same thing.
Yeah.
So you have to allow some space for people to vent depending on the circumstance, but you also have to react quickly.
Yeah.
There's times, we've all been in conversations where we interrupt a trader to be able to help them more
Yeah.
because they're so frantic, and let's
Sure.
just say their internet went down and
Yeah.
they have orders and they're flying blind. We have to be able to quickly identify which orders they want us to address,
Yeah.
and then modify those orders quickly for them.
Yeah.
So patience to listen, but the urgency to understand how to react quickly.
Yeah.
As far as the emotional aspects of it, I'm not going to say every day is hard, because it's not,
Yeah.
but the days that are hard are absolutely exhausting.
Yeah. And
And
how do
it
you
does take a
navigate it?
toll.
How do you navigate that for yourself? I know you're a surfer. I mean, is that one of the things that you do to help take that edge off? What is it?
Physical exercise is one thing.
Yeah.
Um, whether it's a sport, a walk,
Hmm.
anything like that.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a nap.
Yeah.
It depends on the day.
Absolutely.
It
Yeah.
depends on the energy output. Uh,
Huge fan of
but
naps. They're underrated. If they were good enough for Einstein, they're good enough for me.
yeah. I mean, but collectively as a team, we lean on each other
Yeah.
because if you say you're in we keep our clients in the canoe, but then there is the other canoe that just we're in, because
Yeah.
clients or traders are in their own too, right?
For sure.
So we lean on each other pretty well when days are tough, and
Yeah.
usually one or two of us have taken the brunt of it, depending on the storm.
Yeah.
And so we're sure to be there for each other as well, and to
Yeah.
just understand, because that a lot of times that's just what you need. You just need a little bit of understanding. You're not alone.
Yeah, exactly. Makes a huge difference. What
Yeah.
what would you say are some of the offerings that CenterPoint does have currently, from technological to that great customer, relationship? What are the talking points for somebody who's not heard about CenterPoint that want to give kind of a cliff note overview for them to understand what you offer?
Yeah, I mean, I'll start with our cornerstone of the access to being able to short sell stocks that are hard to borrow.
Yeah.
That is something that a lot of the big brokers don't have. They just don't delve into that space. So there's anytime there's a small cap or mid cap or even some large caps that are hard to borrow or hard to short, we have access to that. That is for that particular segment of trader who focuses on the short side. What I wish more people realized is the ability to all the different routing options we have,
Mm,
and the ability to maximize some of their executions by learning how to use those routing options. And that's more so for bigger traders. If you're a smaller trader, the routes aren't as important. I'll be honest. We
yeah.
have over 50 different routing options. It becomes more applicable when you have a larger account. But that's for a long trader, a short seller, regardless. Just being able to manage your order precisely and really effectively manage your executions.
Yep.
That's another big strong point that we offer. And then the service. If there is ever a question, or if you need anything that we don't have, we have clients, we've built specific things for clients that are just for that client.
Yeah.
Um, so we love hearing the brainstorm. What hole exists that might help you,
Yeah.
and let's see if we can fill it. Ever since we were acquired 5 years ago by Clear Street, much larger company, many more resources for us to lean on, and we've done that, and it benefits us and our clients, even in specialty manners, depending on the situation.
That's fabulous. What criteria, if a trader's listening to this and saying to themselves, I might be too small to work with them, what would you want that trader to consider?
That's an interesting point, and we've heard that over the years.
Yeah.
I mean, our target market is anyone who can actively trade. And with the pattern day trade rule, you have to have at least 25,000 to trade. And our minimum
Yep.
initial deposit is 30,000, because you should have that padding. Um, anyone with 30,000 is a candidate. And we do an end of year survey for our clients that's been very well received the past few years. I mean, I get asked, you probably get asked to do surveys, and selfishly, I don't do
I
many.
never. I do none of them. You can pay me
Right?
if you want me to do your survey, buddy.
Exactly. And we have gotten actually tremendous amounts of feedback.
Wow.
And to answer your question, those traders that come to us from a big box broker
Yeah.
who are used to that level of platform, they're usually the most common denominator is how fast an execution they get.
Wow.
And it just blows their mind because the difference.
Yeah.
Um, so that there is no one, if you have $30,000 and you want to trade actively, you should at least test CenterPoint or one of the other brokers that offers that level of platform and access,
Yep.
because I think you're going to see a difference.
Yep. That's awesome. Awesome. What do you feel a trader needs to ask themselves when they're looking at brokers? Like, obviously, we want people to consider CenterPoint, but what are those objective measurements that a trader does need to be sure they inquire about?
It's a good question. I mean, it's really just what style of trading do you want to employ? Again, if you're going to be um, a swing trader and you have, let's say, I mean, not a big account, right? I mean,
Mhm.
let's say $250,000 is a big account.
Mhm.
So if you have less than that and you're not actively trading like every day, hitting buttons, you could probably use a big broker and that would suffice, in all honesty. If you are trading every single day, leaning on CenterPoint again for the executions, and then even some of the other tools that we offer, um, plug, CenterPoint Edge, just a system we came up with to be able to offer different tools to clients, because those it gives you access to higher level of news, of charting, um, some reports that show short interest, just different level of tools. And again, so it depends on what style of trading that you have.
Yeah.
But if it has anything with the word active in it, you should try a broker that is catered to that, because there is a difference.
Yep.
And people don't know that until they try. And most often, I can put it this way, I over how many years, a lot of them, I've heard of very few traders come from a big box broker to us who are actively trading and say, yeah, I don't need that, I'll go back.
Yeah.
That just honestly, that doesn't happen.
Yeah. 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 What do you think about Roaring Kitty's return to the scene?
The markets always need some catalyst
Mhm.
to move.
Mhm.
Whether we're legalizing marijuana or we're building AI for the future, Roaring Kitty is another catalyst. Obviously, back in the heyday when it happened, it was an absolute perfect storm that likely will never happen again, as far as a pandemic, money being given out to everyone's stuck at home, and that happened, right? The
Did
original Roaring Kitty, which was an amazing story and a great movie too. But
did
uh,
you guys all basically sleep at your desks during that time?
yes,
That
yes,
that had to be
I mean, the benefit of those types of catalysts and those types of events is it forces us to quickly we had to quickly revisit all of our risk parameters and how we manage risk. I mean, that's our biggest job as a broker.
yeah.
When we are not trying to provide tools and services to a client, our just like every trader is managing their own risk, that's what we're managing hundreds of traders' risks.
Yes.
So it's multiplied. So when that type of event came, we really had to revisit risk management in a big way. And
Wow.
yeah, you those are some of the stressful times. You lean hard on each other at those times.
I bet. I
Yeah.
bet. What do you feel that helped CenterPoint, that it helped retail traders, just that attention and exposure, and perhaps, I saw it as an opportunity where people began to see, wait a minute, I perhaps could consider trading full-time. What were the pluses from that happening for the retail trader for, your brokerage firm? And what perhaps are the cautions from that period?
Again, that was a lightning in a bottle situation, right?
Yeah.
Having a pandemic that we all lived through that was unlike any other experience we've seen in our lifetimes.
Yeah.
It obviously, well, I'll backtrack. So I
Yeah.
started in this business in 1999. That was 2000, the dot-com bubble, the bubble burst. That was when the term day trader started.
Mm.
That was the people had been trading for a living for years before
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
century. Um, that was the internet,
Mm.
home computers. That was the start. What the pandemic era, we'll call it, or Roaring Kitty era, did was bring a new generation similar to that one to the awareness that they could do this for a living, especially when they were stuck at home.
Yeah.
Um, I think the tide was already turning that way, so that was just fuel on a fire.
Mm-hmm.
I've mentioned this before, just the demographic of trader has gotten younger
Mm.
because the 20 somethings now have always had the internet, have always gamed online, are very comfortable in that environment of keeping score of things flickering super fast in front of them and maintaining low stress levels. So their makeup is different than an older generation. And so when that happened, it really just, again, just put fuel on that fire that I think was already simmering.
Yeah, makes sense. Do you feel, what do you see as the future for retail traders?
I think, and I'll go to the big box brokers again, and I'll even name, specific, like a Charles Schwab.
Mm-hmm.
If you think of their advertising 5 years ago, it was all about finding your investment advisor
Mm.
and using their investment advisor pool and tools to manage your portfolio.
Mm.
You look at their marketing today, even their commercials online, or I mean, even on TV,
Yeah.
and it is look at our tools to help you trade.
Mhm.
The future of retail trading is bright from
Mhm.
a business perspective.
Yeah.
It's very bright.
Yeah.
More and more people are getting more and more access to the tools that we've provided for years to actively trade in the markets. It creates more volatility. I had someone recently say to me, who I know is a more traditional investor,
Mm-hmm.
his words were capitalism is dead.
Mm.
But what he meant, or I think he meant, how I interpreted it, is he was talking about the markets. The markets, like I don't know if Warren Buffett would be successful if he was born today.
Yeah.
It's just things change and evolve. The market is a different animal than it was, and it always will be. It'll be different 20 years from now.
Yeah. Yeah.
But right now, it's very trader centric. It's a little detached from traditional investment profile. Like that's just my take on it. But that's when you ask me about the retail trader industry, I think it's very strong.
Yeah.
Um, it's kind of like online gambling is
Yeah.
so popular now and
Yeah.
so marketed. And I think that's a slippery slope, in my opinion, even for my own children. And their friends. Whereas trading, you can have an edge, you can manage your risk, and you can in other things too. But I just think it's a very healthy industry at this point, and I think it's going to give people a different way of life. More and more people than they used to have traditionally, as far as working a 9 to 5 job.
Mm-hmm. So those people that perhaps are considering trading, that are working that 9 to 5 job, who have been, perhaps it's whet their appetite. What would you say are some of the questions before somebody does turn to become a trader, whether part-time or not? What are the questions that would be wise for them to ask themselves to see, could I be cut out for retail trading in whatever capacity?
I think anyone can be cut out for it.
Mm,
I've seen so many different personalities
yeah.
succeed and fail.
Hmm.
Um, but being honest with yourself
Mm,
when you've hit the wall, when it's not working. I mean, I've had, thousands of traders, clients over the years come through, our company, my companies, right? The different firms I've been with or had. And I've heard those honest discussions that where people have finally said, I can't do it. I'm closing my account. I'm not going to another broker, but I just can't do it.
yeah.
And I respect that. Just you set your limit of what you're willing to lose,
Hmm.
how long you're willing to, put the time and energy into it. Everything has an opportunity cost. Maybe there's something you're better at that you should be doing instead.
Hmm.
And so it's a hard look in the mirror because it's a very enticing lifestyle, but so is any fame and fortune, right? I
Sure.
mean, I
Sure.
want to be a successful actor and be a celebrity. How many people chase that dream?
Right. Right.
It's a slippery slope too, and very few people actually make it. Is it doable? Yes.
Yeah.
Does it take a heck of a lot of work? Yes. And do some people have to call it quits after a certain point? Yes.
Yeah.
And it's a similar path, I
Yeah.
think, in that
What are the
regard.
what are the qualities among the successful traders, even if they're diverse in their style, in their temperament? What are the common qualities of those who have achieved great success?
Risk management. It's just that simple. I mean, they they have a risk management system. It can deviate a little bit, but they stay true to the core of how they manage their risk.
Mm,
Um, I have seen literal fortunes made and lost without it.
wow.
And I've seen people be able to make a modest living, a great living, a
Yeah.
very, by most industry standards, a fabulous living in the comfort of their own home without a boss,
Yeah.
right? That type of the dream, because they've had the right risk management and they've never let themselves just get blown up. Because
Yeah.
I've seen people make more money than they if they would just stop, they could stop forever and do whatever they wanted,
Yeah.
but they didn't have the right risk management. They didn't, you don't make money by not having good risk management. You
Right.
lose money by not having good risk management,
Yep. Yep.
right? So you
Yep.
can make a ton, but you'll lose it if you don't have that. That's the cornerstone to every successful trader out there.
Yep. Beautiful. What do you feel is the future of the broker industry? Where do you see it going? And tell us where CenterPoint is going.
So again, under the Clear Street umbrella,
Mhm.
CenterPoint, where we're going, is offering more asset classes in more markets around the world.
Mm,
Ultimately, it's
mm,
going to take time to build out. We also are, we recently got approved for futures trading. Um, and I think let's say like Interactive Brokers has been at the forefront of this for a long time, but um, their infrastructure is old, but they're so solid in the business that of offering multiple markets around the world, different asset classes, futures, stocks, options, even getting into crypto. Being able to bundle all that into one package, I think, is the future of the industry, and that's
mm.
where we're headed as well.
Yeah. What what do you think are going to be what's the impact AI is going to have, if any?
Yeah, that's a tricky one. I'm no expert. I can't really. I'm not going to pretend to speak too articulately on that front. I think it's definitely going to have an impact.
Yeah.
I think AI's had an impact for years. I mean,
Mhm.
even the high frequency traders. I mean, that was a form of AI already,
Yes,
computers
sure.
reading the markets. So AI from the street corner chatter
Yeah.
is a new concept, but it's been around for a while and people have been taking advantage of that for a long time.
Yep.
How it's going to affect retail traders, it'll be interesting to see. I don't, I think it will play a part, whether it's the trading platforms or whether it's a way for traders to help teach themselves with their own systems. I think that's where it's going to probably, head in that direction.
Yep.
Uh, it'll be powerful
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. I, think I've just been curious if it potentially, changed how a trader trades. If a trader trades, if things are being data centric, is an individual trader going to have access to that data, and potentially allows them to pop up and out of worrying about their emotional volatility or their lack of risk
Mhm.
management being implemented? That's what I've been kind of curious and wondering.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. I think
Yeah.
that would be part of what makes the market work is that emotion. It is that human element. So if that
Yeah.
completely gets removed,
Yeah.
again, 10 years from now, 20 years from
Yeah.
now, the market will be a completely different animal.
Yeah. Yeah. How, how
The-
has how has it changed the most as you've been here for, how long? Like probably more than just these 12 years. CenterPoint's 12 years, but
yeah.
this whole industry for all the decades you've been part of it. Is there anything that surprises you the most?
Nothing that really surprises me,
Mm,
in all honesty, because it
yeah,
obviously, when you're sitting in front of it every
for
day, it
sure.
kind of is
For
a
sure.
slow roll.
Yeah.
But when I look back, just again, the difference, okay, having watched CNBC and other shows like that for 25 years,
Yep.
the change in marketing
Mm,
towards traders is if you could go back and just encapsulate or stream all that marketing as a timeline,
yeah.
you would see there how
Mm,
things have changed. It would
yeah.
be the most, it would be the coolest way to display how this industry has evolved over the past 25 years.
Somebody put up a great collection of old advertisements, and one of them was the E-Trade baby.
Yeah.
And
I
I
mean, yeah.
watched that and I thought, my God, that would never work today because 25-year-olds are not, or 22-year-olds don't have kids.
Hmm.
That just was like, wow, how different what is an E-Trade baby? Was that 15, 20 years old?
I
It's
think 20. Yeah.
20, right?
Yeah.
And it
That
was
was the
such a
start.
hit.
Yeah.
Was that
And
the
that was
start?
really the start of mainstream marketing for an active trader.
That's true.
That
It's
that
probably
was the
an older, married guy with 2 kids who was just, doing this probably in addition to his day job, right?
exactly. That was my original day trader clients. Most often were like some of my best early clients were dentists
Wow.
because they had good income, but they could also peel off and have some time. They could schedule their time.
Yeah.
Any and then self-employed folks, they ran their own business, whether they owned an auto shop and
Yeah.
they had a successful auto shop, but they could be in their office in the mornings trading. Those were the first great trading clients that I had.
Wow.
And now that now the traders, this is all they want to do,
Yeah. Yeah.
and the resources now for traders are so much. I mean, that's, I guess, to go back to your question about how things have changed. It went from a Yahoo chat message board, right? Was the original
Yeah.
chat room, to now there's so many different trading chat rooms, even specific to different styles of trading. And the community is so big, and the timeline or the arc of being able to become a trader because of that access to knowledge
Yeah.
is so much faster than it used to be,
Yeah.
and so much more specific and specified in different ways.
Yeah, for sure.
It's fun to watch. It's been really fun to watch, to be
I,
honest.
I
It's
bet.
been a cool industry to be a part of.
It's awesome. And you have such you know, great glass half filled approach. And I feel your enthusiasm every time I talk to you about the industry. And that's I think pretty incredible because the people that are in this industry love this industry, love what they do. And I
Right.
think enthusiasm can, I don't know, get you through the difficulties, get you through the volatility. And I'm really glad they came to my podcast. We're lucky to have Matt go do an X space with me. So when you guys listen to this podcast, be sure to listen to part two, which will be sitting on X. But we have to shut it down now, so we got there on time. So thank you everybody for watching the Wall Street Coach podcast, and thank you CenterPoint for sponsoring it.